Hey, hello. Welcome to my shop again. Um, Today we're going to do a natural edge maple burl bowl, and I'm going to do this in a two-part series. Part one, I showed how I got the axis and orientation ready, and this is part two. We're going to actually do the turning. Okay, this piece is going to be, maybe 9.5 inches in diameter, and it's a small enough piece that a glue block would work. If I'm working with huge wood, I use the screws right in to the waste wood, but glue block will be really nice and adequate with this. And then I can make the bottom of my bowl nice and deep down in here. I don't have to worry about screws in my way. Here I'm preparing for my glue block. I never use a chuck. Chuck is a weak link and would allow vibration. We can see that we're concave. A little bit of light shining through there so that when I put the faceplate on, it'll shoulder around the rim and not have a hump in the middle. Alright, this is something new that I've been doing. When I get down in this corner, I'm going to swing my handle way away from me. I'm going to make a little divot in there. Just a little notch, just a little eighth inch deep. You see the little ring in there? Okay. So when I chisel this off, I'll have a target. I'll have a way to see where the middle is and get it back on the lathe closer to running on true the way that it was before, or the way that it is now. Okay. I'm going to chisel this off and get ready to put the glue on. And I'm going to drill a little drill hole here for my coat hanger to register. First thing I'm going to do, put my coat hanger in here and draw my pencil line on where the glue goes. And now we want to make sure that we use the thick gap filling glue. Medium or the thin will not work. And I'm going to put a line of glue just inside the pencil line. Now I'm going to put accelerator on the glue block. And when I mate those together, it's going to cure really quickly. Get my coat hanger in, down in the glue, done deal. Now I have to wait, a whole 2 minutes or 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll be ready to do the bowl. And in a burl, we don't have a specific grain orientation. So I'm going to run a test here. I'm going to take a cut downhill towards the foot with a push cut, and then I'm going to take another cut uphill towards the rim. And we're going to take a look at those and see if you can see any difference, because with the burl, I don't know, it might work better one way than the other way, so I'm going to test it. So 6 one, half dozen the other. The test didn't help me because the grain is going all different directions. It's going to be the same whether I'm going right to left or left to right. So that's good news. I can choose whichever way I want. You can see here with my rough out cut, I've got some little pockets of little punky wood here. And so I'm going to be careful with that. I'm going to take light cuts up here. Because my test give me an option, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my cut this direction so I'm coming into that natural edge rather than trying to tear out of it. And that'll hopefully clean this up, and we'll get this running true here. Okay, I'm just running another test here to see. I've got a little bit of torn out grain up where the punky stuff is, right up at the rim here, so I'm doing a little test to see if the pull cut the opposite direction, and it appears that it's making a little difference. It's going to make a little cleaner cut, even though I'm going off the natural edge out into air. I believe the slicing action is cleaner. Got the handle way down, so I'm slicing through the fibers really cleanly. Slow pace across the surface. Oh yes, I'm loving this. I am loving it. This is going to be spectacular. So now I've got to shape this. I've got to find this arc down into the bottom of my bowl. I've been working on this rim exclusively here, trying to get that exactly the way they want it. So now I'm going to work on the bottom, and hopefully that won't influence that too much. We're going to schmooze both the bottom and the top end together here. Okay, I do a lot of my design work standing way away from the lathe. The camera now is probably 10 feet away from the lathe. And now we can see that this is a little bit too funnel shaped, isn't it? Okay? So I'm going to tuck this in and take a little bit of wood out of the bottom here to make this a nice rounded, more of a spherical shape rather than a cone shaped. Okay, and it really takes some perspective, some distance away from it. It's hard for me to see standing right here. Looking at it, it looks pretty good, but when I get some perspective from distance in it, then I can see this is a little bit too deep. I'm going to shallow the bowl up just a bit. So it's right in here that I need to work this in. I'm going to take this line in a little bit deeper and make this a nice rounded bottom here. Okay, now I have developed a shape that's nice and pleasing, and I just need to clean this up. I want to shear scrape this now so that I don't need to sand very much. It's pretty good. I got a few little bumps, tool mark bumps, but it's going to be pretty easy, pretty quick to do. Handle down and shear scrape with the wing. Very, very delicate little tiny angel here. Clean up the surface. Okay, now I've hogged this out. It's probably an inch and a half thick. So now I'm going to stop taking wood out of the middle. So we're going to start out at the tip and go into a small stage, maybe just a ½ inch or 3/4 of an inch at a time. So in this little section here, I want to measure. I want to start to get it uniform before I get my wall thickness. And I'm not going to make this paper thin, but I'm really nice and uniform there. But I need to take another couple cuts. Okay, line up my bevel first with the existing surface. Come back out, move it over, take another cut. Slow pace. Okay, I can look at that. Now I still can have a decision to make how thick I'm going to make it. Right now it's probably what? It's half inch thick. Okay, so I'm going to go down thinner than that. Here's a little different shot from above, looking kind of right down my view. Right, my nose is looking right down the bevel, and so is the camera now. Move it over, take another cut. Slowly, gently. So now I'm going to take one more cut, small cut, and I'm nice and uniform now. So I'm going to keep it that way. And I need to sand what's left behind. So I'm going to go sharpen my tool before I make my last pass. Bevel support lined up first. Get a little whisk of a shaving. There it is. I know it's lined up. I'm going to come back out, move it over, take another cut. That looks like a reasonable wall thickness. It's going to be nice. It's not paper thin, but it's not too clunky. For natural edge, I want to have some relatively thin wall here to yeah, looking good. Okay, let's take the next stage. This is not going to let me cheat with the voids here. I can see if there's a thick spot or a thin spot, so that would not be good if it wasn't uniform. I'm going to take half of that, and then I'll go sharpen and take the other half. So when I get done, I'll have a brand new sharp edge with my last pass. Pretty boring at this stage. We're taking just one step at a time, 1 inch at a time, and we take a cut and measure, stop and measure, take a cut, stop and measure, keep the wall thickness uniform as I'm going through so that the last pass that I take, I don't have to measure. I know I'm uniform. Woo, perfectly uniform. All right. Okay, why am I so fussy in keeping this uniform? Okay. Each stage leads me to the next stage. So if my first stage is not uniform, it's going to lead me to a thicker or a thinner wall in a second stage. So each stage has to be uniform because that stage is giving me the direction for the next section. So being uniform is really important. I've got a little bark inclusion here, so I'm using the thin CA glue. The water consistency will just saturate that and keep it in place and stabilize that area there. Okay, now I'm doing the last stage. This is the last stage that's measurable, where my glue block's not in my way, on the bottom where my foot is. On the outside, I can't measure that, so I'm going to get down as far as I can measure right here. Here now I'm working on the center area that's not measurable, so we're going to evaluate that just for a nice rounded shape to match the shape of the bottom of the bowl, not a flat spot across the bottom. Okay, the only way that I can measure this is by the feel of the curve of the bottom, so I want to match the same curve of the bowl, make a nice arc here, nice football arc, no flat spots or undulations. Brand new sharp tool. I'm going to register the bevel just in front, anchor bevel cut. Get a little whisk of a shaving going. Woo-hoo! I nailed it. Love it. Perfect arc there. All right. While it was on my glue block, it's all sanded to 600 grit that I can reach. And now I have to get rid of the waste wood on the bottom. This is going to be a fruit bowl kind of thing, so it's going to be functional, even though it's got a natural edge, which lends it to be pretty decorative. I'm hoping it's going to be used, or thinking it's going to be used. So we're going to take all of this waste wood away. We've got my 3 lines on here. That's the inside of the bowl. That's my wall thickness, and that's where it's going to sit on the table. So the first thing I need to do is get rid of all this waste wood that doesn't sit on the table down to this line. Okay. Take small cuts and go slowly here because I'm just driving with the friction with the tailstock, holding it against the waste wood. The waste wood's got a little pad on it. All the way down to the pencil line where it's going to sit on the table. All this stuff is waste. Now I'm going to pick a diameter. I'm going to leave this relatively thick here. Have a bit of a foot on it. I think that's going to be about my diameter there. Okay, and we'll clean up the wood in between. This is done where it's going to sit on the table. This is done where the bowl shape is already, so clean up the rest. Do a pull cut with a scooping cut. I'm going to kind of make a little bit of an ogee here, a roundedness. Okay, gonna change to a shear scrape here, lower the handle way down, take little tiny shavings and clean this up so I don't have to sand much down here. Clean up this little area here where it's going to sit on the table. Now to put some detail here in the bottom, I'm going to use a spindle gouge. I've done everything so far with a bowl gouge, but spindle gouge has a little steeper grind. It'll get me in here and do a little detail. I'm going to be relatively thin, about 3/16, a 1/4 inch thick, right in the middle of the bottom. But I've got a little fat spot here where it sits on the table. So I'm going to take a little bit of that wood away and then make a dome in the bottom of my foot that would match the inside shape of my bowl. Now I'm going to wait till it dries. Once it dries, I can sand this bottom. It's too wet to sand right now, so I'll give this a couple days, or I could leave it for as long as I want now. It's not going to change or go anyplace. It's not going to crack or have any trouble with the drying, so I can just let it dry. I can come back in tomorrow or give it a while and finish sanding this little bottom area. Okay, knock the nub off and finish sanding. I'll be done. Okay, now we have it all sanded down to 600 grit. Have the finish on it so that you can see what it looks like. Get a little view of the character inside of it. Okay, and what the bottom looks like. Okay. Now remember, when we were doing all our planning, we got these top edges parallel to the table, so it's nice and balanced. And if you remember, we were working on this little wing. This wing right here is that wing that we were talking about that I wanted to save, and so that's the natural edge that was left from doing that wing. All right. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe on your way out and ring the little bell to get notified. And don't forget to support my sponsors. They help make these videos happen. So we'll see you next time, and have fun at the lathe.